presentations with unlimited number of videos. A conference like orthopedics definitely has all those points. A conference like IOACON doesn't have the problem with the videos, doesn't have the problem with so many presentations being given. The second aspect for this kind of centralized preview room is that we have the entire conference data backup on 2 TB hard drives regularly at hourly intervals. The reason for that is there are certain aspects beyond which technologically and otherwise I do not have control over data, and data is a very integral part of our business. So this kind of backup system is created internally by our servers. All session timings to be controlled by external and software timers. I will show you photographs of that. All staff to be in company uniform. This is again a very important part, because even if the person is walking on the corridor, we know that this is an AV staff, he has to be held up and he has to be cornered into. Sorry, I missed the last point. This is also a very important part. Security agency, our staff for evening and morning handover. This is a very basic protocol which we've started. If the conference starting say at 7:30 a.m. in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning, we have a team of 4 to 5 people who report 1 hour before all the other staff. If my staff is coming at say 6:30 in the morning, there's a team of 4 to 5 people who's coming half an hour before them. So that they switch on the preview room, they see the things, they switch on the main hall, they know that all projectors are working, there's no problem, there's no rectification which is required. So these are the people, once my actual AV staff enters at 6:30, he knows that the critical part is switched on and tested. These are very basic things. If you have a cultural event or an inaugural function, not an inaugural function I would say, but a cultural event or some other side events going on late during the evening, it is an evening staff which comes in and takes over for that period of time if it's going on beyond 9 p.m. or 11 p.m. So these are basic protocols, because the guy has to come in the morning as well. These are basically sample photographs of our preview room. These kind of jackets are there with Grover Audiovisual written on there so that they are easily identifiable. This is another sample of preview rooms. This is a sample diagram which we've created for one of our conferences. I'm just bringing this into preview room. Basic concept of our preview room is that it's completely integrated with the entire conference. The second aspect is we stopped using the normal LAN, we started using the gigabyte LAN, which is a slightly faster format of that same LAN, because the videos now which we are using, I've sometimes encountered videos of 1 GB, 2 GB, 4 GB, 8 GB. I just did a conference where I submitted them an entire data of 19 TB, and I had to buy them 2 hard disks to submit them the data back, and they build that into a cost, but such is the case. So hence the use comes for this kind of gigabyte LAN. These are Cat6 cables. These are switchers which are high density switchers where the data transfer is faster. Again, coming to points, all systems in the preview rooms are desktops and not laptops, because desktops are made for preview room, because they have larger screens, they have hard disks which can be removed and connected into another system. They are built in such a way that they are more robust than the laptops. Whatever quality of laptops we have, desktops are always better. This has been our belief, and we thoroughly follow that. Configuration of servers in the preview room, minimum is i7, 8 GB RAM, etc. All backup in 2 TB, HDDs for the conference. All laptops in halls are of commercial models. This is again a very slight error of judgment mistake. You have a laptop which is Core I configuration, which is a home laptop. It is not built for conference rough use. The laptops which I use here is something like this. So once I bang this laptop, nothing happens to it. These are commercial model laptops. These are IBM ThinkPads. Whenever we buy laptops, we buy them in a range of 30 each. If I have this laptop, these are 38 in my office, exactly the same. So once I bring them to a conference, all laptop configurations are the same. All softwares which are installed are the same. All hardware drivers which are required are the same. Hence, all errors which will happen also will be similar, so they will be rectified at the preview room itself. So that's the aspect of the conference for the preview room. Of course, Macintosh laptops, now we've come to a lot of conferences where we have a large number of Macintosh laptops which are used. We have already put this in our guideline. Any speaker who requires a Macintosh laptop is most welcome to take that from the preview room. He has to inform that in advance. It depends on the organizing committee how they wish to intimate us, but we've put it there that they should send us an email or at least come during the conference and tell us that we require a Macintosh laptop. I have it on a pen drive which is in Keynote or some other format which will not run on an IBM system. So that's the aspect. The second aspect is the bane of some troubles. So these are basically various 4 or 5 kind of connectors. Macintosh every year brings in a new connector. discontinues the old connectors. So here are all the connectors which are used for Macintosh laptops. So you have a lot of delegates who come in with their Macs, but they say we don't have the connectors. So these kind of connectors are available with us, and they are in-house so that they are sufficiently distributed from the preview room as and when required. Simple things like digital timer, these are countdown timers from green, red, yellow. Suppose we have a timing which is of 12 minutes, it counts down, starts from the green part, then comes to the yellow, then comes to the red at the 0th minute, gives a short beep, then starts counting forward so as to tell the chairperson that we've gone 3 minutes over, and this is the time you have to reduce for the discussion period. And this kind of AV console is handled by my AV person sitting at an AV console here, so that he knows that you have 5 lectures of 15 minutes, 2 lectures of 12 minutes, and so on. So this is basically the time management. In addition to this, we have the software timers which can be employed. Then this is the last part of the conference, which is the post-conference recording, the webcasting, the post-production. This is something which is very important, which we call the multimedia DVD, or we call the event replay. This we feel is as good as coming to IOACON 2013. In fact, we feel it's better than coming to IOACON 2013 because you can attend all sessions at your leisure and you can see all the lectures. Other than, of course, the lectures which are not permitted for the recording purposes. So this is one thing. Then webcast with archiving, if it is something which you feel is required for the conference. Post-production of the entire conference on DVD. I will just click on this and we will come further to this. Option for event replay online. Now, for the last couple of months, we've been able to develop the technology where we can put this entire multimedia DVD online, archive it for 1 year. So you don't have to go about distributing it to 5,000 delegates and incurring that cost and that hassle and people saying we've not received it and so on. So this is one aspect which is there for online this thing as well. Abstracts on DVD, I understand yours is a green conference. The biggest book which I see in the conference is the conference abstract book. So we feel that is the paper which should be eliminated first. And we have this kind of abstract on DVD which is there, which we feel in some formats may be better. Of course, a conventional book is always a conventional book, but the DVD in itself gives a better quality because you're waiting for a flight, you can look at abstracts, you're stuck somewhere where you have no access to anything, you can basically look at those abstracts. The books you really can't carry it all the time. So that is one thing. I will just go very shortly into this multimedia DVD. Just muted the sound for our this thing. So this is the initial animation which comes. This was a nitrogen conference incidentally. We have a face of the speaker here. We have, suppose we have the lamp lighting here. We have the chairperson who's speaking or the speaker who's speaking. At any point of time, we look at somebody who actually has a presentation. The uniqueness of this DVD is, I've just muted the audio, but I'll just show that to you. If I don't want to look at the first 5 slides, I just move on to the 7th slide, the audio and video sync accordingly. I want to just toggle between the 2 screens, I can do the same. This happens in our online version as well. The other advantages, again as I said, some of our options are for revenue making as well as comfort of the delegates as well. We have a lot of delegates, especially in medical conferences, they come to us and they say that, we were not really happy with everything. We had basically photographs being sold at 30 rupees, it was very exorbitant, it's being printed at 7 rupees. So this kind of photographs is given to all delegates once the DVD reaches them, and nobody can come to us and say that, we didn't receive the photographs in time. That is one aspect. The addition to that is we have the complete abstracts in this DVD again. So at any point of time we wish to look at the abstracts, we can have a look at it. This is completely searchable, browsable by name, browsable by topic, browsable by keyword, browsable by author. So these are the basic aspect advantages for this. In addition to this, we have a basic contact us page where we have the name of the conference organizer, our names as well as if you have a sponsor, you have the conference logo here, you have the sponsor logo here. This DVD we feel for medical conference has a huge shelf life. Hence, it's very optimum for your sponsors to sponsor it, and hence the publicity for your conference, and hence the remembrance for Agra IOACON 2013. So this is one aspect which we feel is very important. Now adding to something which we've already presented to you, adding to something which your RFP is already mentioned. Now this is our vision, what we feel IOACON 2013 should look like. These are basically our visions for IOCON 2013. Now we have certain newer technologies which are available to us. These are what we call the large venue projections. These are all projectors which are over 10,000 lumens and 12,000 lumens. These projectors project image sizes upwards of 50 feet by 40 feet. I did a projection for one of these projectors using one of these projections, and I did it at FMRI Gurgaon, which is a huge building of 19 stories. And if you go to YouTube and you will just type in FMRI Gurgaon, you will see it covered the entire building. The building might be 100, I think 200 feet long. So that's the kind of projection quality which we are talking about, and what they did with that projection, they showed the celebrities who had come how the building was built up, what the vision of the conference is. They use the building as a projection screen. So that is the kind of quality which we are wanting to bring to your office. These are basically the large venue. The reason why I've chosen an international conference is because this used to earlier happen at most of the international conferences. And we used to do this in Agra and in Delhi with some of these smaller projectors, which I still use but for normal conferences. Large venue projectors, 10,000, 20,000 lumens upwards. This is what we did for Art Conclave. This is a screen size of 24 by 12. This is a single HD projection, cinema scope. You have the face of the speaker here, the PowerPoint, the logo. You can have logos at the bottom. You can have the session names at the bottom. This is what we did for an endoscopic conference a few months back at the Leela Kempinski in Delhi. Center was a high definition projection, left, right were normal projections. This is again a screen of 24 by 10. This is how the projector is placed. It's placed basically like a cinema scope. It's placed what you see in a cinema hall. So the closer you are, the further you are, it really doesn't matter. In fact, the way back you are, you see a clearer image. So that's the advantage with this kind of projection. You have center PowerPoint, you have face of the speaker and the chairperson view. This is something, a similar projection which we did for 20K. This is a 12 feet by 15 feet. This was at Ashoka Hotel this year for Cardiology Society of India. This was of specialist advantage to you if you had a live surgery transmission. This is something which we did for Medanta Hospital during their live surgeries. We had the endo image, we had the face of the speaker, the various other images which are there. With the PowerPoints, we have the PowerPoint in the center. We use the outside real estate to show the logos of the conference. If you have any session sponsor, the session sponsor doesn't have to fight with me कि मेरा सिर्फ 1 मिनट के लिए चला था और वो तो chairperson बैठ गए थे. His logo can come at any point of time which we require. The advantage with this kind of real estate, why I'm talking about it in that way, is that this is a surgical video where we have a live surgery being transmitted. You have one PIP, two PIP, three PIP, four PIP. Normally with a conventional kind of projection, I can have just one or two, one face of the speaker, one endo vision. Here they are able to play with pressure monitor viewing and different kinds of viewing at the same time, so it gives a little more advantage to the conference as well. Again, coming back to your conference, what you exactly require, this is the kind of setup which will be done for your conference. You will have multiple projectors showing one image with a high definition, with a projection of over 10 to 15,000 lumens, giving you roughly a screen size of 36 by 12 in your case because your hall height is more. Here the hall height was much lesser. The reason why I've taken this photograph is this also has two chandeliers. These are slightly more better ones. Yours are a little more sleeker ones, but it's of a similar kind. This is how the conference looks like. Once you have a PPT in the center, you have the logos on the side. This is for an international conference, so of course a live surgery was going on. This is again a sample of the LED wall. We'll come back to your exact conference, Divanik House, how it's supposed to look like. During inaugural, I do not need to change the backdrop. This is an entire backdrop. This size can be 36 by 12. I can increase it marginally to reduce it marginally, depending on our requirements. You have the conference backdrop being shown here, the name of the conference, sponsors, so on. You can have the seating in the center. There is no requirement for any side screens. There is no limitation of screen size. These are basically large venue projectors with upwards of 12,000 lumens, multi-layered, watch out, making cinema size of screens. And these are projected from the front so as to eliminate any space wastage at the back. Again, a sample. You have welcome delegates in the morning, so you don't need to change the backdrop. Every day the backdrop color can be different. Every day you can have a separate theme. Every day you can have a separate nomenclature. For the sponsored session, you can have the entirely set of different logos. So you really don't have to, in some ways, I do a conference every year in Delhi. They don't get any backdrop printed from us. They say it's a wastage of a lot of material which is printed and then wasted, and it's bad for the environment as well. And I do their entire conference on this model. I do not print any backdrops. I just use screens for their backdrops. So that is one advantage which we have here. And even when we use Flex, because we have an in-house production unit as well, we give it for recycling. We have an NGO called DFDW which takes it for recycling as well. So these are the options. All graphics as per session is made in-house from us. We are not dependent on the event manager or you or at any point of time to give us the inputs, only then we will project this. We will make the graphics, we will take the approvals from you. I have a complete in-house graphics team who comes to you, sends you emails, tells you timelines, tells you this is what is going to be displayed, takes your approvals, and then goes through with displaying it. At last minute, of course, there are changes. We will do the needful, which is required to be done. These are samples. We have a PowerPoint presentation. We have the face of the speaker. We have the name of the speaker, as I mentioned. So we have the name of the conference coming. These are the options. At some point of time, we have a conference which is going on, but we have a panel discussion which is happening. The speaker is speaking. So these are the basic options which are available. Basically, with this kind of projection, there is nothing which is left to chance. You tell me with a touch of a button, I can change it from one speaker to another speaker to the third speaker to PPT versus the video versus the video versus the PPT. So these are the kind of advantages. We have the factoid slide in the middle, we have the PowerPoint slide at the side. So as per our requirements, even during the conference, we can basically change it as per our modulation. These are sample backdrops and setups which we've designed for standard halls, like you have Ivanayam, the smaller halls which are there. You have a standard backdrop in the center. You have two left-right masking screens. So 8 by 6 is what I understand the ceiling height of that hall we can have. We have center masking center screen with two left-right panels. These are for the 3 smaller halls on the 3rd floor, Pavilion of China, etc. The reason why I put in this page, this is a far inferior projection than what we are proposing. This is something which I did almost 8 years back. This is with 6,000 lumens projection, watch out. This is at your hall itself. And this was a back projection because that was the limitation at that period of time. This was in, I think in 2007 or 2006. That's basically the part of the conference which we wanted to discuss. There are 3-4 basic points how we're different from others. What kind of value adds we wish or we propose to give you for the conference, and what are the advantages with going with us. We have a staff strength of over 150 technicians. When you require 50, I say you should have 60 here, and there should be a buffer in the office so that I do not have an emergency and there's nobody here and I'm pulling out somebody for the conference here. So when I say a conference requires 50, then the company should have 100. That's our thumb rule. If you require 100, I should be having 200 people. That's the basic thumb rule which we follow. Company experience of over 30 years and just doing medical conferences. Our bread and butter is just medical conferences, and that's what we do day in and day out. We've done last 6 IOCONs. We feel we understand your scientific content. We feel we are able to cope up with your doctors. We feel that we are able to give them simple value adds. Last IOCON, if I remember correctly, I had a doctor, very, very eminent doctor, who came to the preview room, put in his CD, he did not have a pen drive, and said, please load my presentation. He did not have his presentation in that thing. And I said, sir, you do not have your presentation. He checked, he was one of the top shots in Mumbai. His assistant came, 100 phone calls came, but the presentation was not there. I asked my guy sitting in the preview room of last at 2004 to make his presentation. It did not complete by the end of the day. My guy spent till 4 a.m. in the morning at his room at JP itself, completed his presentation. So that is the kind of integrity which we feel. I got 2 conferences instantly because of him for that. It was Dr. Ashok Johri. I got 2 of his conferences in Mumbai after that. But I did not know him, to be very honest, that he is a doctor of that stature. I just took him to be a senior faculty member, to be very honest. But for us, all doctors are VIPs. We feel that if you've come to the conference, the bottom line is that your presentation will happen most efficiently which way you want it to happen. Whether we have to beg, borrow, ask your assistant to email certain slides, ask your colleagues to loan you certain slides, do anything, but we ensure that your presentation happens. even if you've not brought your presentation. So that's the kind of commitment which we feel we bring to the table. The second aspect is we feel we are not an audiovisual company. We feel that we will basically help you run your scientific program. With our presence, we feel nobody should come to the organizing secretary or the scientific chairperson that, I have this problem. I have this laptop, the buck should stop with us. We are the final call, we will give him a solution, whatever the cost may, whatever the solution may, we will give him a solution. So that's our basic motto of working. Only medical conference, audiovisual company, finances are always required with a sound turnover of around 200 million. World-class equipment with up to 20 to, now we are in the process of procuring 30,000 lumens projectors as well. With the top brands, the sound which we use for the conference is only JBL. And as a matter of technical know-how, we've zeroed in on certain brands of equipment which have a certain value add to it. And we've zeroed in on basic equipment like Shure for table mics, for cordless mics. These are things which are very unsystematic to be saying at the least, but they are very relevant. Because you have a good brand sound system, you have a good brand table mics, you have a good brand cordless mics, half the work is basically done. We have a 32-point checkout system. Once the equipment leaves Delhi, we have 32 points of check, which is checked and then the equipment is transferred. So these are basic, simple protocols which are followed, and that's how we try to bring efficiencies to your conference. Planning and execution, which is the last part, of course, correspondence, preview rooms, PowerPoint editing, that's basically the crux of our presentation. So, thank you gentlemen for hearing us out patiently. If you have any questions.
Means in 1 year, you are having 100 conferences.
Absolutely, so more than that.
Every third day,
Yes, sir.
you are managing one conference. Every third day.
No sir, in fact, sometimes in a day I'm managing 2 to 3 conferences of medical nature. The reason and the aspect why this happens is of 2 reasons. One is that we have separate divisions. One is the hotel division, one is the external division. Like he sits at India Habitat Center. At India Habitat Center, sometimes in a month we have 14 to 15 medical conferences just at that venue. And I sometimes don't even come to know about it. At the same time, I'm doing 2 to 3 medical conferences every week. So that frequency is there at a larger level. Plus we have a lot of conferences which are done directly with the hotel as well as directly with us as well.
Not of the same nature. Medical
Of course.
conferences, maybe of the 100 people.
Yes,
maybe
of course,
50 people,
of course.
maybe of 1,000 people.
Actually, he's calculating your GBM also.
The
Your
CME.
other orthopedic societies meetings are also covered in that.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
He's very honest about it.
Yes, absolutely. It's all even small meetings.
Obviously.
Because we feel all meetings are important and we feel that all of them bring us to the table.
Yes. Yes. Usually we have to set the lights off when the presentations are on.
Right.
In LED projection we did so.